You know, sometimes the universe just spins in your favor. That happened. I got a sweet deal on baby back ribs. And that's what I'm going to be making today. Hey everybody, thanks for stopping by. My beard needs to be trimmed again. My wife told me to, but I didn't listen. I'll have to do it later. I don't know how it is where you live, but in my area, of the three basic types of pork ribs, spare ribs, trimmed spare ribs, which are done to a St. Louis cut, and baby backs. Baby backs are usually the most expensive, almost always. But I got them on special. They were less than $5 per rack, which is really good in the Southern California area where I live. I'm going to be cooking these ribs today on the Weber Kettle using charcoal and hickory. I want to get the temperature up to somewhere around 250. It's going to range between 225 and 300 probably most of the cook, but I want to really shoot for that 250-ish temp. So before I clean these ribs up and rub them, I've got to go get that Weber Kettle going. Get my rib rack out of here for a second. I'm going to add a good sized cup of water to the drip pan. Maybe bring it up about half an inch. I've got a fair amount of coals in here. Got a couple tiny pieces of hickory just to help things get going. And on the bottom, I have a larger piece of hickory. So I'm going to go ahead and get this going with the propane torch. I'm going to let this burn for probably an hour just to get to the stage that I want it before I even put the ribs on. So we're just going to let this catch, slowly build up temp. Probably in about 15 minutes I'll put the lid on so it doesn't burn too fast. In the meantime, I got to go get those ribs ready. I can already smell that hickory. Oh, hickory and ribs just goes together perfectly. So here are my 2 racks of baby back ribs. As you can see, the membrane is still on them. So the first thing I've got to do is remove as much of this membrane as I possibly can. Most of you have probably already removed membranes from the backs of pork ribs before. If you haven't, I'm just going to give you a quick demonstration on how I do it. Now, I find one of the easiest ways to do this is using a simple table knife. What you're going to do is you're going to find the bone, one of the bones. I like to go somewhere in the middle, and you're going to slide this knife up under there. If it tears, don't worry about it. Then you want to get a finger under there. Now, many times this will pull up pretty easily, just like it is right here. If it doesn't, what you do, take a paper towel, grip it, and pull. That gives you extra grip on that. So now I've just got to slide the knife under here, get some more of this up so I can get a good enough grip. Get my fingers under there, pull it up, pull it this way. There. Membrane is off. Now I'm just going to repeat the process with the second rack of ribs. The rub I'm going to be using today is going to be in 2 parts. The first is going to be this Northwoods fire seasoning from Penzeys Spices. Then after I get a good coating of that on, because it's got a little bit of heat in it, you don't want it too much. So if you get this and you don't want too much heat, don't put too much. I like heat. Putting that on there, and then on top of that, I'm going to be putting a coating of brown sugar. That'll help mellow that heat a little bit, and sweetness from brown sugar marries really well with that hickory smoke. So I'm just going to start hitting these racks with this Northwoods Fire Rub. I've tasted this before. It's really, really, really good. Like I said, it's got heat, not a ton of heat. It's not like super hot, but enough that you know it's there. And if you notice, I didn't put anything on these ribs. No oil, no mustard. I know a lot of people do that. If you do that, that's fine. I just never have found it necessary. To each his own though, right? There is no hard and fast rule except the food must come out tasting good. Let's get the other side here. Wow, that rub. can really smell that. So membrane, yes or no? Leave it on, take it off. If I can, I always take it off. I've done it with membrane on before. Gotta be honest, the ribs tasted just fine. A little bit more chew to them. Obviously in the back, you've got that membrane stuck there. Let's get some of these edges a little bit here. The ends. All right, let's get these turned back over. Those are good looking ribs. And again, blue glove really helps. Have a dirty hand, clean hand. Now it's time for some brown sugar. I'm not going to put a ton of brown sugar on here. I just want it to help with cutting a little bit of the heat. Now, I'm not going to be doing anything with these ribs like a 3-2-1 where I wrap them. They're just going to be on the Weber Kettle smoking. I will sauce them after probably 2.5 to 3 hours. I'll put some sauce on them because at the temp we're doing, this may only take about 4 hours. Okay. I know I said I wasn't going to put a lot of brown sugar, but man, I love the taste of brown sugar on ribs. Let's get the other side. Okay, yeah, I'm putting a lot. It's good though. That's going to go really well with that spiciness of that Penzeys. Let's turn these back over. And you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to give these an extra little hit with that Northwoods Fire seasoning. Because it is just so good. All right, time to get these on the Weber Kettle. So I'm going to be putting the ribs into the vertical rack today. I'm going to be keeping them sort of back here. You notice I have my blue gloves on. These are not heat resistant, but this isn't too hot right now after I just took the lid off. So I'm going to put the ribs in this slot and this slot. I'll be rotating them every hour, moving this one up, that one up. It's going to be meat side facing the coals, which are right over here. Okay, so if you can see there's a good amount of space between the two racks. I could space them out and leave that slot empty, but I don't want them too close to the coals. I want to give that separation so this is more of an indirect. Like I said, even though it's indirect, I'm going to be rotating those ribs. When I sauce them later, I will probably turn them around so that it is bone side facing the charcoal for a while. But until then, we're just going to keep rotating them with the meat side facing the charcoal. I'm going to slide this rack just slightly closer. Okay, let's get our cover on. I have the upper vents choked down to about 1/4 of the way just so I can try and maintain that temperature below 300. I want to, like I said, shoot for 250, but I really want to try and avoid having it go above 300. If you watched the video I did recently about adding a sensor slot to the Weber Kettle, I'm using it today for the first time, running the sensor probe wire to my Ivation remote thermometer transmitter, and I think it's going to work fine. Sure makes that cord going in there a lot easier without pinching it. So I'm going to be monitoring the temperature as we go along. In about an hour I'll be rotating those ribs, and somewhere between 2 and 3 hours I'll be saucing them for the first time. So I'll bring you back when we're ready to do that. Holding in the 240s right now. You have to monitor that, make sure it doesn't get too high. Just added a couple hunks of hickory on the charcoal. Opened the vents a bit to get them smoking. We're doing good. Okay, we're about an hour in. It's time to rotate these ribs and add a little more charcoal. Hey, this is looking good. First thing, remove this one, slide it temporarily forward. Move this one to the front and put this one back behind it. Basically, they've just swapped positions. Oh, that Northwoods Fire rub smells wonderful. Let's get some fresh charcoal in there. Oh, those just look amazing. Probably going to put about 5 pieces of fresh charcoal in here. And a few small pieces of hickory. They are looking tasty already, even after just an hour. But we've got a good 3 hours probably still left on here. But again, it's all going to depend on tenderness. We will not take them off until they are tender. It's 4 hours, 5 hours, 6 hours, doesn't matter. Tenderness is the key. And our hickory is smoking. So let's get the lid back on so we can build back up to temp. I've got the top vent almost fully open. I want to let that smoke get a chance to build up in there with good airflow. We'll choke it back down if we need to keep the temp somewhere around 250-ish. It's been hovering between 225 and 250 for the first hour, which I'm okay with. Good smoke. Okay, we're holding nicely at 235. Second hour, time to rotate these ribs again. Let's get this out of the way. Slide this one back forward. Now you can see here, still quite stiff. So it's got, I'm guessing, at least another 2 hours to go. But it sure does look good. Smells good too. Charcoal's looking good. I think I'm gonna add 2 more briquettes. Get the lid back on and keep cooking. All right, we're 3 hour mark. I'm gonna take these ribs off for a second and sauce them. See how they're doing? Hey, those are looking good. Nice color on those. All right, let's get these off and sauced. Oh, looking really good. I'm gonna be using some garlic barbecue sauce. Can't remember the brand name. I think we got it at Costco. I'm gonna sauce these up. Really nice. I may sauce them again in another hour depending on, you know, what the tenderness factor looks like. And I'm gonna put this back on bone side towards charcoal. Just see how gorgeous that looks. Get this back on and sauce the other one. So I'm putting this one on bone side towards the charcoal now as I take the other one off to sauce it. I'm going to throw a little sauce on the edges of these two, not any on the back side. And if you notice now, I did space them out a little more with an empty slot in between, just so there's plenty of airflow around these. Going to add about 5 more pieces of charcoal. Temp's been holding at about 235, a little lower than I expected, but that's okay. I mean, low and slow is good. If it takes a little longer, I don't mind. I am going to add a couple pieces of hickory on here now, because with the sauce on here, I want to get some of that hickory smoke marrying with that barbecue sauce. All right, let's get the lid back on. All right, we've got good hickory smoke. That's the last wood we'll be adding. The rest is all just going to be heat. Just about at 4 hours, and we're holding at a good 243 degrees. I'm going to check these now, see where we are on the tenderness front. Oh, really beautiful color on these. Just a rich mahogany color on these right now. Let's see how we're doing on tenderness here. Still a little too stiff. Still need to pull away from the bones more. Got a little bit of pull. Hard to see there, but a little bit of pull, but not enough yet. Check this rack. They're both virtually the same. Okay. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to turn this around so these can face the charcoal. I can't ask for a better color than that on these ribs. It's looking wonderful. I'm going to add a little more charcoal here, but I want to show you something. Little tip, something I'm just realizing with these Weber indirect baskets that hold the briquettes. If you are doing a long cook, like I am here, I'm 4 hours past, you'll get ash that builds up in the bottom here, just like you will in the firebox of an offset. So when you add charcoal, this, if you want to keep good airflow coming up, you got to kind of bang this, get the loose ash to fall back down into the bottom of the kettle. And that will get you better airflow to your fresh briquettes when you add them. So I'm going to add another 5 briquettes here. Seems to be going about 5 briquettes per hour to keep it at that, you know, between, it's basically been going between 235 and 250. Briquettes are going to catch nicely. Let's get our lid back on. Okay, so I was originally planning on this being about a 4-hour cook. So why is it taking longer? It's taking longer because I haven't really pushed the fire to get hotter. Once I hit that, you know, almost 250, I just let it sort of go, keeping it between that 220 and 250. I could have pushed it higher, 250 to 300, and it would have cooked faster, but you know, once I got going in it and it was having a really easy time maintaining a lower, slower temperature, I decided to go with that because low and slow really always works well, especially with ribs. So right now, while I can maintain that between like 230 and 250, I'm gonna do that. It'll probably take closer to 5 hours now. And if it takes longer, it takes longer. You know, when they're tender, and that's when they'll be done. All right, time to check these, but I think they're probably done. Oh yeah, we've got bones pulling away. Let's see here. Oh yeah, these are done. You can see right here, we've got the meat pulling away from the bones. It's pulling back, retracting. It's very soft. I think I've said before in many videos, I don't like my ribs falling off the bone. So this is just about right at the edge. So these are ready. I'm gonna get them off, get them inside, and taste them. There is one of the finished racks of ribs. Oh, it is just gorgeous. Just beautiful. All right, let's cut into this here. All right, let's see. I think the bones are going this way. Let's make a cut. Oh yeah, let's see. Ooh, oh, look at that. Did get a little bit of smoke ring in there, which is nice. Finally, time to taste these ribs. All right. Ooh, they're still hot. Can you see that? See that color in there? What is it? Super moist. Oh. And I haven't even bit into them yet. All right, here we go. Ooh, that Northwoods Fire seasoning. Oh, wow. It's got nice heat, not too hot. Oh, wow. See, this is exactly how I like ribs. Not falling off the bone, but tender, tender, tender when you bite in. Oh, wow. Very pleased with these. The other nice thing about this is it shows you actually can have a really good smoking session on an ordinary kettle grill, you know, the Weber Kettle. You just set it up right for indirect, use the right wood, monitor it, and this was about a 5.5 hour cook, and 5.5 hours is generally about what baby backs are going to take, 5 to 5.5 hours on an offset or another smoker. You can cook them faster, but when you're doing the lower temperatures, 225-ish, it's going to take about 5.5 hours. At least that's my experience. This took about 5.5 hours at, really, I would say the medium temperature it was holding most of the time was between 235 and 240. So that's almost perfect. Another bite. Do I have any barbecue sauce on my face? I hope you enjoyed this video. I know I went into quite a bit of detail in the process, but I like doing that. You never know who might pick something up from it, so I hope you've picked up something from it that's useful to you. If you did enjoy it and find something useful, give it a like. That sure does help. And if you enjoy these videos I'm putting out and you're not subscribed to my channel, consider subscribing. That way you'll get a notification whenever I put out a new video. If you're interested in any of the items that I used in this video, check the description down below. I'll put links there so you can check those out yourself. Thanks again for watching. Hope you have a great evening, and I'll see you again soon. I'm going to finish my rib.